Hello, everyone. Welcome. So, I know all of you are used to positive talks, but I am starting something new here in 2024 where I am bringing on some of my fellow coaches to have talks around what we do as coaches. So, this is episode 1 of Coach Talk. So, hopefully, you all enjoy these as much as you've enjoyed positive talks. And I already see a couple of my coach friends in the audience. Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
Oh my God. Excuse me. I was just preparing myself. So obviously, what does one prepare for a live? If you're a girl, you need to prepare with your lip gloss bin.
Oh, I love it. You're all prepared and you've got your plants. I've got mine coming in from the top.
I also was listening to Kerncraft 400. I don't know if that's quite what you should be listening to before you do one of these, but hey ho, I did it, and I'm here.
We're here, we're ready. We graduated from the Jay Shetty Certification
We
School,
sure
so
have.
how are you feeling?
I'm ready to take on the world, Ben. That's how I feel. How about
I
you?
love it. I definitely learned so much on that journey, and it gave me like that boosted confidence I needed to jump back into this full time. So I definitely am glad to be here. And I think the community of coaches that we met was like the biggest takeaway that I got was just getting to meet all of you and just be re-inspired every single conversation we were having.
Yeah, and also just you're right, the community, and then being able to if we've got questions or doubts or anything, we can all kind of just ask one another. And I just think that's so important to kind of have each other, like a wee sorority.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I will let you introduce yourself so people know who you are, and then we can kind of dive into a conversation into your journey into becoming a coach.
So my name is Lucy Bruce, and I'm a life coach, Lucy Bruce life coach. And I kind of specialize in alcohol-free coaching, um, and that's my speciality. That's what I'm interested in. That's what I've got a lot of experience in. So, yeah, that's what I do.
Awesome. I love it. And for me, I have the background in leadership development, and when it comes to just understanding how teams function. So for me personally, I've kind of shifted into working with coaches because I see coaches as like the biggest leaders in the world. So going through this Jay Shetty program and meeting all the coaches, I was like, yes, I'm like on cloud nine being surrounded by all these amazing people. So tell us a little bit about your journey. Like what brought you to sobriety and wanting to be a life coach and help other people on their journey, because I know that that's part of your story, and I think that that is a beautiful place to start.
Yeah, I mean, I've been 18 years alcohol free now, and I started. I mean, my kind of route to becoming a coach was really rooted in the fact that I wanted to help the girl that I was 18 years ago. Um, and she was just lost and so unhappy, and she didn't have any direction. She was just existing. Um, and so, it's been a, it has been actually when I got sober, I was like so many people. I was just so like ready to take on the world, but I had no real clear direction. And I was just so kind of broken at the time that I don't think I even knew what my value was, and I didn't know what I had to offer. But, over time, and just maybe through relationships that I've had and friendships that I've had, and having children, I've realised, I've always known it, that I am a real empath. And I kind of see that as, I used to see that as being a negative, but now I see that as my kind of superpower, because I'm able to really, really relate to people and really, understand where they're coming from. And I mean, I was thinking about this the other day, and I was thinking about, you know, how do you, I think I heard something about it. It was about being empathetic. And I think a lot of people are just born that way. And then there are other people who have had a very, very challenging life, childhood, and they're almost molded into that because they have to adapt to the situation around them. And I would say that's very, very much, you know, my story. I had a very difficult childhood. I had an alcoholic and violent father, and my whole journey was trying to adapt to him all the time to keep him happy. And, you know, that made me just be whatever he needed me to be. And I also created a lot of anxiety. So there's a lot of coping mechanisms there. And as I grew into adulthood, I just kind of carried that on. So I know where it kind of stems from. I probably would, if I had had a really solid background, would I be as empathetic as I am now? Maybe not, but I don't see it as, I don't now see it as a negative. Before, when I didn't really know how to channel it, I just thought, why does everything drain me? Why do I take on other people's problems so much? But you can use it in a really positive way. And that's what I'm doing with coaching. I really want to find those people who feel lost and need direction. And I think that life coaching in general was kind of, I'm not saying it was given a bad press as such, but it's kind of, maybe a couple of years ago anyway, maybe let's say 10 years ago, when I first kind of moved into this area, and it was kind of poo-pooed. It was just sort of like, that's what Americans do. I'm just being honest. All
I
about
love
your
it.
feelings. Over here it's like that. Sharp.
Yeah.
And but now I really see it as, it's essential, because we're moving in that direction anyway. It's like life coaching is really about, you know, finding someone impartial who can, through discussions, can find out who's the real you, and how can we channel that, and how can we, I just think that people are living really mediocre lives sometimes, through no fault of their own, because they maybe don't see their potential. And from my experience, alcohol has a lot to do with that. People, numb pain. They can just be using alcohol because they're bored. It can be lots of things, but when you start down that route, it's very difficult to actually, you know, fulfill your potential. I think, and I've seen that many, many times. And I think when you remove that, the world's your oyster.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of people who use a lot of different things to numb themselves from feeling inadequate or the pain of not knowing or understanding purpose. And because if you think about it, we can distract ourselves with so many different things and numb ourselves to our thoughts, because most of the time in our mind, we're our biggest critic. We are destroying ourselves more than anyone on the outside can. Because if that voice in there is destroying us, then everything else is being let in to just affirm anything that we're saying in here. Because I went through a rough childhood as well, and I realized when I started changing my thoughts in my head, started saying that I was worthy, when other people on the outside said I wasn't, it didn't align with myself. So it didn't impact me the same way. And I think on the journey of becoming sober and working with coaches, I think a beautiful power that you have is you've been there, because I think sometimes it's really hard for someone who doesn't understand what alcoholism is or addiction, it's really hard for you to understand the journey someone has to take to reclaim their life from it. And I think that you being able to share your story is a way that people can connect and know that you're someone who can reach out a hand and kind of help guide them in the direction that they can find a purpose and they can find a better life for themselves.
Yeah. I also think, I mean, I am not an addiction specialist and I don't purport to be that, but I have, life experience. And I mean, I think when I tell people that I've been 18 years sober or 18 years alcohol free, they imagine, what was so bad, what happened. And it really, there was nothing really specifically. There was lots of just small things that added up. And I am a very sensitive person by nature, as we just spoke about. And so I wasn't able to handle hangovers. I would have panic attacks. I would have a crippling anxiety. I didn't drink every day at all. I drank around a social scenario, and it would be, maybe once or twice a week. And sometimes I would go weeks without drinking. But when I did drink, it was, now on reflection, just to numb pain. I wasn't good enough. I had no confidence. And that was because when I started drinking, so I mean, when I go back to it and I think about, when I started drinking, so when I grew up, I just hated alcohol because I just thought, look at what it's done to my father. I mean, it's just, I will never drink. And I used to say that. But I also had all the anxiety and challenges of, my childhood. I had been, sexually abused for a very long time as well, by another member of my family, and I had a lot of trauma, and I had no self-worth. And I think before alcohol, I had kind of really get into, not really get into, but I had an eating disorder. So, I was very ill, and then I found alcohol, and I remember, my first drink, and it was before a school disco, and it just felt like a magic potion. I was like, this is the answer. Suddenly, I felt like I can be in, I can speak to people. I feel good about myself. This is the answer. And I genuinely, it felt like the answer. But that doesn't last long. And, what was a crutch really became a disability for me, because I couldn't do anything like that, any social situations without drinking. And as I got older, your tolerance kind of gets worse, and you drink more, and then all this anxiety and all these kind of, bad behaviors, shame, blackouts, all these things happened, and it just had stunted my growth. I had no confidence, I had no career, I had no purpose, nothing. And that's why I think that when I stopped drinking 18 years ago, I stopped drinking. And I didn't go to AA. I did it with an alcohol counselor, and I stopped drinking. And I didn't have any, like, symptoms, because sometimes if you are like very addicted, you have symptoms. I didn't have like any kind of withdrawal symptoms or anything like that. It was really just, I needed to remove it from my life. But even with that, I don't think I had the confidence or the wherewithal to sort of channel all of that. And where I am right now, I just feel like, God, I want to help somebody like me 18 years ago, to say, don't waste another 18 years, trying to do this or do that. Let's find out what you really want to do, and let's do that. And that's I'm so passionate about that, because I just think that there's so many people that, it is so socially acceptable. Everyone, everyone's tried alcohol, and there are a lot of people that use it, but I just think it's such an in my experience, I can't really see many positives from it. But
Yeah.
that's not everyone's experience. I know that there are people that can maybe drink in moderation. I mean, I've got lots of friends that drink in moderation, and I mean, I love being with them and I love having fun with them. But I think if you've questioned your drinking, it usually means that there's a reason why.
Yeah. So when it came to that moment when you're like, okay, this is going to be my last drink, I'm going to start my journey to be sober. Like, when did that kind of start? And like, what were kind of
I'm
the
j-
steps and things?
I'm laughing about it because I can just remember it. I remember I had booked to see this late. So basically, I had bumped into somebody that I used to drink with, and they were like they'd turned their life around. I thought, if they've turned their life around, what the, I was like, surely I can do it if they can, because they were way worse than me. And so I got the number of this lady and I made an appointment. Now I remember it was like the weekend, and I remember I had the appointment with her on the Monday morning. So so most people would be like, well, I'm going to just like, take the next couple of days to just not drink. And me I remember on the Sunday night, I was like, let's have a drink. It's the last time. Might as well go out with a bang. So yeah, that's what happened. But to be fair, you know, I had just had I just think I was so sick of myself. I really was. I was just like, and I won't there were quite a few really dangerous situations that I put myself into, and I was, I hadn't dealt with any of the trauma. I had just used the alcohol and I just pushed all the trauma down. But it doesn't work. The one of
Yeah.
the worst things that I would say about when I drank was I do have a habit of oversharing. I'm working on that. And when I used to drink, I would get to a point and then I would just tell people things, and it was like, oh my, you'd wake up the next day and you'd be like, what did I tell them? And it would just be like, it would be things that you shouldn't be sharing with people. They were going to, take care of the information you'd given them. It was just like, she's an idiot. Why would you tell people that? And you know why I did it? Because I was dead unhappy and I was just looking for people to care about me, and I was looking in all the wrong places. So, I mean, for me, it just got to the point that I was like so sick of waking up and, having no energy, looking like shit. Um, I used to have jobs that weren't really good jobs, and I would just like phone in and, pull a sickie. And I didn't like being that person, and I didn't like being the person that occasionally I'd embarrass my mum or do something like that. And it was just, there was a lot of shame. And there were dangerous situations that I put myself into. There was just like times I remember drinking in a club, and then I remember being home and I do not know how I got home whatsoever. So no, it just got to the point that I was like, um, this is just no life. This is just existing. But one of the other really important reasons that I stopped drinking was because I always knew that I wanted to be a mother, and I always knew that I was never going to put my children through what I went through with my father. I just would never do that. And I didn't know I didn't know quite where I found that kind of strength, that conviction to say that, because at the time there was no, it wasn't like I was saying that and I was stopping drinking, but I just knew that when I had children, I wasn't going to do that to them. And that has been, that would have been the biggest motivation for me to stop drinking. And I am, that is one of the things that I am most grateful for, that my children, you know, have never had to wonder, is mum drunk? Is she, is she strange? Is whatever, I've not, and that's one of the things I'm most grateful for, because I just know how, you know, I know how much it affects children.
Yeah. I grew up where alcohol was also very present, and it's very interesting because as children we interpret the adult world very differently. You don't look at it as the world is overwhelming and there's trauma and all of those other things. You just kind of look at it as like mom gets really weird when she drinks that drink, or she's really mean today, versus it's not thinking about all the stuff that they're trying to block out and remove and pretend doesn't exist. And you kind of talked about it as like it was your kind of liquid confidence
Hmm.
to where you could be social and be around people because when you weren't drinking before, there wasn't a lot of confidence.
Yeah.
So, like, when it came to taking alcohol out of your life, and you said you have friends that still drink, was that journey hard for you to kind of be around people that were once part of a life where you were very social when it came
Well,
to drinking?
to be honest, I was very lucky at the time because my he's now my ex-husband. Oops. But my my I'm trying to rewind back the way. So he would have been my fiance at the time, and the crowd that we were just hanging about with, they it was just a drinking crowd. So we actually both decided to stop drinking at the same time, and so we were able to. And I don't know, would I have been able to do that on my own? Because it was when we did it together, we just changed our kind of life and our lifestyle, and we did everything that supported that. And those we weren't really around those people, and actually quite a few people in that circle stopped drinking, maybe because we had as well, and they just didn't want to. They wanted to change their life. So, um, but at the early stages, I would not have been comfortable being around alcohol too much. I certainly couldn't have had alcohol in the house. I used to have my mum drinks, and she would come round, and if she always has a glass of wine with her dinner, so she would bring in wine, and I would just hate having it in the house. I would really want to pour it down the sink. She never let me do that, but um, I just didn't feel. Maybe it was just I didn't feel confident in myself at that point, and I also, I got married, and people were like, "Are you not going to have a glass of champagne on your wedding day?" And you're like, "No, I'm not." It's just like you're either sober or you're not sober, and then people. I mean, at the time, and I'm less like this now, but there weren't really alcohol alternatives unless it was like diet soda or stuff like that. So, and I was never into drinking, like a fake champagne or anything like that. I just thought, why would I even want to be tasting that? Why would I? For me, it was just like I just don't want to taste anything that would be remotely like alcohol. Um, so yeah, I can't even remember what your question was, but I've just went on and on.
No, you're fine. I think when it comes to like the journey of becoming sober, it's important to surround yourself with people. And I think having a coach also is a phenomenal thing to kind of have, because when it comes to coaching, like our journey is to kind of help people forward. We're not therapists, we're not like specialists in like helping people become sober, but we're there to communicate and help people kind of untangle their thoughts, because kind of what you were talking about was like there was a lack of confidence. Alcohol kind of like helped with that. On the other side of it, where did your confidence come from? Because I think that you've definitely grown in confidence. So how did that journey become like yours to kind of find your confidence again?
Well, what I think is you need to find people that you can be your true self with rather than trying to fit in with the people you think you want to be with, and really embrace who you are. And it certainly has been a process. It's not been an easy that's not been an easy thing. That's been something that has definitely came with time. And I think when you have children, or you have big life events, that also it adds to, I mean, I've got married and divorced while sober. Um, I've had deaths in my family. My father died, and that was really difficult. But there's just something inside me now that's like, you know, I just I just don't drink. That's so I have that confidence. And but I do think that, as you say, it's like when you stop drinking, and it depends. I think you do need to find your own group, and that may take time. But the first thing I would always say is to find it does. And when I say find your passion, I think that that can be quite scary because people don't always know what they love or what they want to do. But find something you're interested in at least, and then from there try and spark up conversations with people that are interested in what you're interested with. And I think that that's a great place to start, because you want to, that's not to say, when you stop drinking, you maybe the people that you kind of socialize with before will really support you and they'll adapt, and that's wonderful. If that's not the case, then I do think you need to find, you know, a new tribe, let's say. And confidence comes with building skills and, you know, doing things that are maybe a wee bit difficult. And it's very much within you, it's not from other people. But then you attract, when you start, I mean, what I would say is, if you'd asked me this 18 years ago, I would have been very wishy-washy about what my values were, and, what was important to me. Now I'm very specific about that, and the people that I attract around me respect that, and I respect them, and I have healthy boundaries. And I think that all those things, I probably still do have traits, and it will kind of go back to childhood, but I can be a people pleaser. But it's recognizing that, and trying not to just always say yes, and trying to, do so much for people. It's about actually saying, no, that's too much for me. I can get really overwhelmed, and it's like you learn from those things, because you say, no, I actually do have to, like, have boundaries. And that gives you confidence, because it's that you're actually telling yourself, I actually do matter. And I think actually those little things really do matter. It's like your confidence can come from just the way you hold yourself, from the way you pull yourself together. You know, I feel way different when I put my makeup on and I do my hair than when I just roll out of bed and throw a pair of, joggies on and whatever. I feel different. So these things they seem like they're inconsequential, but they give you, a sense of confidence, and, you respect yourself and esteem. And I think that's really important, because those things you can do, and you don't need anyone else's help.
Yeah,
So
I I definitely have been on a journey of learning to stop people pleasing, and part of that journey was realizing that I have to create boundaries. Like, the way people interact with me is my responsibility. And if I don't set clear boundaries of, like, hey, this is not acceptable. Hey, if you want to be a part of my life in my energy and realm, these are the guidelines, these are the boundaries I have. And when I created those, people respected them for the most part. And the people who didn't, I had to become more stern or remove them from my closest circle of people that got to interact with me on a regular basis.
when did you
And
realize that you were people pleasing? Like, what
oh
was
gosh,
happening?
I think the biggest thing for me was when I realized that I was seeing everyone around me always get to their goals, and I was never completing mine. And it was because anytime people were wanting help, needing help, or like asking me to assist them in any way, like, I would lay everything down that I'm working on and help them and watch them succeed, and they'll like sail away into the horizons, and I'm like clapping, and I'm like, wait, no one's here to help me with mine. Uh, and then I started realizing like I needed to build relationships with people where it's like, hey, if I give time to your projects, can you give time to me as well? Like it was okay for me to ask for help from other people. Uh,
So
and I wasn't doing that.
did you ever feel kind of resentful when you helped other people and then they didn't reciprocate, let's say? Did you ever feel like, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah,
oh,
it's funny because I was in a clubhouse room with my friend Leah, and she talked about like unsigned contracts. And like I was famous for those. Like I did things to help people, assuming that that meant one day they would return the favor and help me. But we never had a discussion of, hey, like I also have a lot of things on my plate, a future I'm trying to build. Um, and then when they didn't turn back around and help, it's because I never communicated that I needed that. A lot of people looked at what I was building and growing and doing in life as he's got it all together. He can do it by himself. But inside of my mind, I was like, it would sure be nice if some people could help me with this, like I'm helping everyone else. And when I started stop having these unsigned contracts and starting saying, hey, like, I would love to help you with this. Do you know anyone that can help me with this? Or do you think you could like spare some time to go over something that I'm working on and give me feedback? And it was just me not communicating what I needed and just expecting people to read my mind and know that that's what I
yeah,
needed. And I was just like, oh, okay. But when you were talking about like kind of moving away from friends and kind of having like walking away from alcohol, I've never experienced like any type of connection to alcohol. Like I've had drinks with friends, but there's zero craving for me. I actually don't love the taste, but for me, something that I can kind of relate back to it was I was in an extremely abusive relationship, and my friend circle was completely tied around my relationship. And I tried to leave that abusive relationship. And I was so lonely that I was just like, I don't like being alone. So I would go back to this circle of friends, which my ex was a part of, and it would just fall back into cycle of exactly what I was trying to get away from because I knew it was toxic. So like falling back into something because I didn't really have something connecting me to the other side. It was just like all my support existed where I needed to get away from. So I'm glad that you and at the time fiance did that together, and
yeah,
started creating something else on the other side, because sometimes that's the biggest step that you've got to take, and doing it alone isn't easy for sure.
yeah. And I think that's, I want to bridge that gap for people. They don't need to white knuckle things. You know, if they need extra support, some people don't. Some people can just, maybe they, they can just do it on their own. But I certainly have lived it. I've been through it. I've been through so many experiences, and I know where the challenges are, and I know what works. And, you know, I'm I definitely want to reach those people, the people that are just maybe just don't have the support system, or they can't even. What I've found is there's lots of people that want to stop drinking, but their partner doesn't, and they maybe stop, and then the partner's kind of encouraging them to drink, and they just feel like, well, okay, like what are they don't have, there isn't enough, they've not got enough skin in the game to follow through with it. And when you've got somebody like me who's going to, you know, be keep you accountable, or give you some advice, or just be a sounding board, I think that is, essential for people in those situations. But you're dead right. It doesn't need to just be alcohol. It can be, lots of different things. Um, like you, I think that one of the things that I've struggled with, it's definitely relationships, because I never knew what a relationship was unless I was drinking. And then obviously I was married, we had children, and that broke down. But I hadn't really built my confidence, and it's only really been in the last, maybe 4 years, something like that, that I would say that I've come into my own. And but you have to keep on. You have to keep yourself accountable too, because we can slip back into patterns, and it can, I've been in really, toxic relationships, and it's like there are similarities, so you actually have to recognize that. And it's very difficult, because it's like, it's a difficult thing to be 42 and single with two children, and trying to find the love of your life is a different proposition than when you're 25 and out with your friends. So that is something that, I that's my thing that I work on, definitely, and that is all about self-worth and your own value. And that I'm a work in progress. What can I say?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing when it came to like relationships is going into spaces like more together, more confident, more loving of yourself. Because I've been in relationships where I was still very broken. I hadn't really been on my healing journey for very long, and existing in a space where broken is my identity. Like, it's there's lots of trauma that I've gone through. There's lots of things that I still am working on healing. But I realized that when I was walking through life very broken, that what I was attracting was not what the end result of me wanted as a partner. But I wasn't attracting healthy relationships at that time, because where I was at that time didn't invite healthy people to be a part of it, because I was still seeking someone else to fix me. I was still seeking to be healed by something outside of me. And that was seen by people. And I'm not saying good people wouldn't see that and want to help, but that's something that I needed to also see in myself, that healing is my journey, that is not something I throw on a partner as soon as I start dating them. And I think that the journey I took to like work on myself, build that confidence, and kind of know myself, because I remember like back in the day, I would look at certain people's feeds and Facebooks and just kind of wonder, would someone like that ever want someone like me in their life? And I was like, if you're still in that mindset, like you're just kind of still beating yourself up. Whereas now I'm like, I'm a really awesome person. Like, people would be lucky to have me in their life. If they don't want me in their life, I'm just not their cup of tea, and that's okay. We can't all be each other's cup of tea. Um, but now I'm not at the point where I'm like seeking anyone and everyone to like me.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of at the point where I'm like, I like me. That was the equation I needed to solve. And now that I'm there, when people don't like me, they don't walk away with like my self-worth. That's still intact. And I'm just like, you know what? We just weren't meant to be in each other's lives, and that's okay.
Yeah. I think I feel as if we're twins, to be fair. Um,
I love it.
and I totally understand what you're talking about. I think that it's only through this journey that you realize, you know, you just think you are a certain way, and then you realize, oh, I actually have choices about this. Like, like you, I would attract certain types of people, but I was projecting, something else, and I was like almost as if I was broken and needed to be fixed, needed to be saved, needed to be looked after. And I mean, what I've just told you. No wonder I had a horrendous childhood, and no wonder I wanted a guy to come along and say, "You're special. I love you. You know, let me take care of you." But you know, those types of people that come along, they if they're looking for that, they're not the right people. You know, I'm now looking for somebody that is going to be a match, somebody that wants to lift me up and support me, but you know, as a partner, not as somebody that's kind of ruling the roost or controlling me, anything like that. So I think that, you know, that's a really healthy, you know, that's a big change for me to kind of recognize that and know that I'm not going to settle for anything else. So that is the confidence that comes. It's just, and I want that for other people. I want other people not to feel stuck, and I want other people to, you know, have that freedom to live the life that they so deserve. It ups the empath in me. It just you know, it hurts my heart so much to think that there's people out there that are still in that space where they don't want to look at themselves in the mirror. They've got so much pain and they have nowhere to channel that. It's just,
Yeah.
and that's where I think that as coaches we can make a big difference, because it's not about, you know, wallowing in self-pity. It's actually about taking action, you know, and that's what I
Yeah.
think. I also think, you know, I do admire people that can stop drinking and they go to AA, and I love that. But for me, it was so important that when I stopped drinking, I just didn't want to talk about alcohol every day. I just didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to talk about the stories. And I now use those stories to kind of maybe inspire other people, and I'm happy to share them. But I didn't want anything that was being like negative around me. I just wanted to like, and I think that that is good as well. It's like sometimes you know, people that are maybe stopping drinking, and they're maybe just middle lane drinkers. I mean, that's who I work with. I'm not an addiction specialist, as I say. So people that are just maybe thinking, you know what, I drink too much every weekend. I don't get things done. My career is not going anywhere. My relationships are terrible. Like, what now? Well, you phone me, that's what you do. And we work through it. And we, you know, alcohol does not become a factor anymore. It's just like, let's just get on with life. And I think that worked for me. I just don't want to be, you know, reminiscing about alcohol and all the negativity that surrounded it for me.
Yeah. I think kind of going back to like what you were saying with like a relationship where someone would come in and like rescue you. I think being in a relationship where someone sees your power, sees your like ability to make things happen in the world and wants to remind you of your power is a really strong person because
I mean, Ben, how can you not see it right now? Are you kidding me? I mean, I'm radiating out this Instagram live.
you're killing it. Yeah, I think that that's like the most important thing because I think sometimes we think of like, okay, this Prince Charming has come and saved me, but a lot of times that's also a complex that people develop when they feel the need to be in control of other people. Like they want to help you because they want to control the situation. Whereas a confident person, a person that's in that position playing Prince Charming rescuer, when you start to stand on your own, that creates insecurities in them. Whereas if you're in a healthy relationship where when you fall, they catch you, when they lean, you catch
Yeah.
them. And it's like you both see each other as powerful forces that together you can keep each other accountable, move towards goals. But yeah, I think that understanding that and just seeing your own confidence and being able to stand alone in life is really important for people to realize. And I think what you were kind of talking about, like being a coach and kind of existing in that realm for other people, like coaches, we're not here for you to become like a vine wrapped around us to be your support through life. Like We want you to be a sturdy, standing alone single person. We're not here to be the crutch. We're here to like kind of hold you back up when you like start to fall and come on the other side and do the same thing. But we don't want you to be dependent on us. We want
No.
you to see that
We're
inner
like
strength that
we're like the wee
exists.
training wheels on the bike, and then we rip them off and we're like, on you go.
You got it. Keep going.
Get your crash helmet, off you pop.
Yeah, I always tell people that I know that every single person has their own light, and as a coach, I'm not like a spotlight. I'm not here to help you shine. You're capable of that yourself. What I'm doing is helping kind of clear away some of the stuff on the outside that is making it hard for you to realize that you're already shining, because I think a lot of people don't realize that they don't need someone to kind of be their light. They're already that. And it's just kind of fun to kind of get people to see, okay, maybe it was your relationship with your dad that made you feel like you didn't have worth. Let's unpack that. Let's pull that clear so that we can see the worth that's actually there, that has never been gone. It's just been dirty. You haven't been able to see it.
Yeah.
And when people kind of start to realize, like, I do have my own light, I do have this power within me, that's when they can start to make moves towards whatever they have, because they stop thinking, for me to achieve, I need this person. Because for the longest time, I struggled with my family not seeing value in what I wanted to do in life. So therefore, I kept doing everything to hope they would validate it eventually. And I always fell short. I always like couldn't get them to quite see it. And then I realized, like, why am I going back to them? Because like I experienced success and I'm like glowing in this moment just to go back and be told it's not enough, to where my light just goes out again and I have to go back. And it's like, I don't need that connection. That the light that I can create, it can't exist with just me without someone telling me it has value.
I saw one of the ladies had asked, I am Lady Garland, do you think AA program has the ability to help people truly stop and live a flourishing life without a strong pull of falling again? Definitely, because I know loads of people in AA that have been 30, 40, 50 years. So it definitely can do it, with your 100% commitment to that. My whole thing was I just didn't want to have to go to AA meetings, and I just didn't want alcohol to be everything in my life. I, and I didn't want to, I just didn't want to live my life around, I have to be at a meeting, I need to do this, I need to do that. I wanted to just be able to enjoy my life. And now when I talk about alcohol, it is because I want to help other people or support other people in their journey. But I definitely think that there's loads of people that is the only choice they have, and I would never diminish that. Definitely, you
Yeah.
you
I
you always have to just, you just have to do what you have to do at the time, and you just have to take all the help that you can get. And if AA is the only option, then you do that. If AA and maybe, an alcohol-free coach would like fast track you to achieving specific results, do that. There's so many different options. There's so many different options. Luckily, there's so many different options now. I mean, 10 years ago, it wasn't like this. We didn't have access. We couldn't just go on to Instagram and have access to real life stories. When I stopped drinking, I have to say that one of the big things about, I mean, I'd looked up AA meetings a lot, but for me, it felt, and I'm not saying there is, but to me, it felt like there was a stigma around that. And I was just really embarrassed. I didn't have the confidence to just rock up at an AA meeting, and I didn't know if I quite fitted fitted the bill, whatever. Um, uh, but as I said, if you think you've got an issue with alcohol, then that's enough of a reason to go to a meeting, even just to see what it's about. But now we have so many different options. We can get information at our fingertips, and I think that's amazing. It's essential for people, because there's some people that are just, not everyone has a huge big group of, we see Instagram, we see social media, we watch programs, everyone's got amazing friends all around them, they're just like support systems, and oh, I've got, and that's not the reality for everyone. There's some people that are just completely on their own, or they don't have the means to do things. But social media, I think, is such a great thing for things like this, that we can actually like give information to people and help people just by talking and just telling our stories.
Yeah. I think it's great because if you think about it, it's like one size doesn't fit all. And now that we're seeing that, because AAA or AA is definitely a great way to kind of go about that. But like you said, when it comes to making change, like some people need a gentle touch, some people need that forceful touch, some people need just space for quiet. Like there's lots of different methods to kind of get to where you need to go. And that's why I think it's important to work with people to kind of help you get to know what works best for
Yeah.
you. Um, it's kind of like the standards of learning here in the United States. Like there's just this one model, and if a child doesn't fit in it, then they're just left behind. I don't believe that. I think that's the beauty about working with coaches that don't have super structured like programs. Uh, it's just like we're gonna do what works best for you, and we're gonna figure it out. We're gonna take the time to get to know you and what's going to move you towards sobriety or the goals that you want in life. And I think that that's the beauty about one-on-one anything versus group or reading a book or watching a movie or video about it. Like there's input from you as a person that now the coach can kind of utilize and help you guide. Because if I know like yelling and screaming is not going to work for you, I will make sure that there's none of that in the future. If you need someone super excited and like celebrating every win you have to like keep you going towards the finish line, I will be there doing that. But for me, like I don't like it when people do that to me. So I
Yeah.
kind of roll my eyes and it removes my like momentum to move towards my goal. So it's just like finding the person that kind of aligns best with you. And
Yeah.
if it
It's a
doesn't work,
it's a
that's
bespoke.
okay.
It is really bespoke when you do coaching. That is the luxury of it, and you can do it for as long as you need, as long as you need to, without becoming reliant on it. And yeah, I think it's. I mean, one of the things that I'm hoping to do is to do a program that's accessible to everyone online, um, and that would be for middle lane drinkers that want to, remove alcohol from their lives, or even just give themselves a period where they have no alcohol. And that's something that I want to do, from my website for people, and that just means it's not, if people aren't able to, at this moment invest in themselves to, for one-on-one, that there is still another option for them. So I'm working on that just now, and I hope, I just don't want to not help people that might need to be helped. But I do think that the one-on-one coaching is just, it's the thing that's worked the best for me. It really has, because it's so bespoke and it's so tailored to you specifically, and you've got a real good sounding board with somebody, and you really get to know one another. So I think it's like, if anyone can do it, it is so worth the investment. I mean, people invest, people spend money on just nonsense all the time. If you go through your bank and you look at all the direct debits and the amounts of money that come off every month, it's just, it is for a lot of, no, it's not, it's, we think they're essentials, but they're not. And I just think that, investing in yourself because you will see the results, and it's tangible results. It is really life changing. So I mean, I
Yeah.
couldn't, if I hadn't done coaching, I wouldn't be where I am now, definitely.
Yeah. And it's funny because when you think about, like, I saw this ad where it was like talking about we won't spend money on this because we say it's too expensive, but we'll pay for this. And a lot of times we pay quite a bit of money, like when it comes to distractions, things to numb us, things to pull us away from our growth or anything. Like, luckily I have lots of discounts when it comes to like subscription stuff, just because of my work. But when I think of like all the different platforms I have that I pay for
Oh,
monthly, I'm just like, those can be very numbing. Like, get off from work, and instead of doing something that brings me to life, I do something to try to numb myself from the stress of a day. And when I started realizing I was doing that, I was like, okay, cut it. Like, you don't need this. What are ways like that you can like invest in yourself instead? And I was
yeah.
like, okay, what can I do when I get off of work that brings me to life and removes the stuff that I've been stressed about versus numbing myself to not feel, just to go relive another day. And I was just like, wow, when I just made that simple switch, I started doing things where like I was excited for the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like I got through rough parts of the day because I'm like, I'm excited because I get to cook dinner with my boyfriend tonight. I get to do
Oh,
this. And
stop making me jealous.
you are perfectly fine. We're gonna get you your American cowboy, and
Mm,
you will.
Yeehaw, cowboy. I honestly
Oh.
think I would look amazing in a Stetson, to be honest.
We'll just bring you down to Texas and get you a cowgirl hat and everything.
But I think what you're saying is so true. It's like we're so used to it, and it's like everyone's like Netflix and chill. It's like, would you not rather be alive? I get it. Sometimes you just work so hard and you want to relax, and that's okay. But you should look at your week as a whole and say, how much time am I actually devoting to feeling alive, connecting with others? Like, I'm not kidding. Anytime, my favorite thing to do is to go walking my dog. And although that's a solitary thing, sometimes I can force my children to go walk. And when I do, it's my most favorite thing in the whole wide world to do, because you're connecting, you're in nature. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm really a big country girl, but I don't know, just the being in nature, the movement, it just it makes me feel alive. And it's just like, and with being with friends, being with good friends. I was away with friends last weekend, and we didn't stop laughing. It was just like, and that it just, it fills you with so much joy. And that's the things that make me feel alive. I don't want to numb things anymore. I want to be really present. I want to be my authentic self, and I want to attract in those more of those people. And even, I mean, even through this, it's like, you know, I've attracted you. You're not my boyfriend, but you're my boyfriend. And it is doing things like this that it makes you feel as if you're being seen and heard. And I think that's, everyone should feel like that.
Yeah, I'm right there with you when it comes to like nature and going out. And I actually did a positive talk with someone who asked me like about moments that I cherish. And I was sitting there like thinking of like what are like these grand moments in my life that I remember and cherish. And I was like, there's not a lot. And he was like, well, think about small moments you cherish, like things that just like bring you serenity. And then my mind just went flooding with things like getting to walk the dog outside, getting to just lay and laugh with people and playing game nights. Like my mind started flooding And I was just like, oh, wow, there's lots of things like if it were to be taken out of my life that I would miss them so much. But like my mind was so focused on like creating these really substantial big moments that I was overlooking all these like small, beautiful moments that I get to have on a very regular basis. Even if it was just taking Cooper out for a walk in the morning and just kind of laughing as he does stupid dog things. And it's like, those moments you have to remember are really important, and kind of like what you said at the beginning with like small things when it comes to your confidence, like all these small things add up. At the very beginning we talked about it wasn't such like big events that kind of moved you away from drinking. It was just all the small things adding up.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with good things. All these small things add up. All these small things you can do to invest in yourself on a regular basis. Like, you don't have to be like, okay, going back to school, I'm buying a new house, I'm moving away from this. Like, they don't have to be drastic. Those small things do add up and your body feels it. So, like, on a regular basis, make sure you're feeding yourself small things that are like good for you, and just be aware, like ask yourself, like, am I doing this to numb myself, or am I doing this to like grow myself? And when
Yeah.
you think about it, be honest. Don't try to lie to yourself. Your body knows when you're lying. Don't be like, oh yes, this is, I'm learning something from this Netflix show. I'm learning about what what not to do. Like, label it what it is, and then just make sure that you slowly add more to grow yourself in your weekly like schedule.
Yeah. I can't believe an hour has passed already. What is that? Where's that time gone? How is that possible?
You blacked out.
Have you hypnotized me?
It's the eyes. It's the well, I want to say thank you so much for coming on here and having this conversation. I know that as soon as I met you in the Jay Shetty program, that I had a connection with you, and just the energy you bring and the authenticity that you brought to the space when you decided to be the coachee. Um, and I was definitely glad that we got to stay connected afterwards. But if there's any way that people can support you or kind of help you with where you're going with your journey, feel free to share that now so that we can help you move towards whatever direction you're trying to go as a coach.
Oh, you just tell everybody you know about me if they Lucy needs a boyfriend. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Um, no, I mean, I just, my website is Lucy Bruce Life Coach, and I am really, as I said, wanting to help people, middle-aged drinkers that want to stop drinking. That is my passion, specifically women. I mean, I do obviously work with men too, but specifically women, and I really just want to, spread the word, help as many people as I can. I kind of like this podcast thing. I want to do this. This is fun,
Yeah.
and um, yeah. I mean, I just like connecting with people, and I like making alcohol free be normal, because I actually do think that's where the world is heading, way more than it has done. So yeah, come and connect with me. I'm on Instagram, and I love chatting to people and getting to know everyone. And if I can help and support anyone with any questions, then feel free to contact me.
Awesome. And it looks like you've already got another invite to be on Garland's podcast with her. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely be looking out for a
Mm-hmm.
message from her, because
I'll need to get my Kerncraft back on then.
I love it. Well, it was great talking to you, and stay in contact. We're definitely going to keep the conversations going.
Defo Ben. Thank you so much, and thanks for everyone that was listening.
Awesome. Bye.
Bye.